Good morning and welcome to Move Early, Move Often. It is Wobbly Wednesday. I am Blake Martin. And we're back in our old space. My wife has an early meeting today, and my co-host in the today, I don't know what it's going to be like when you're watching it, but he's in the snowy city of Toronto, and he's keeping it frosty, keeping it real. And Dr. Thomas Karakolis, you're going to need a towel or something, a surface that's going to kind of get you about that much off the floor. All right. It's going to do two things for you today. It's going to provide a little surface where your feet can stand on, and that's high enough off the floor that your toes won't touch the floor if you hang them over the edge. And the other thing that it does is it provides a slightly unstable surface. We know that stable surfaces make it easier to balance. So let's get to it. All right. Place your towel in the space. You're not going to need it right away. So just kind of move it off to the side. We're going to warm up our ankles a little bit because we're going to be standing on our ankles. I'm going to set my timer, which has gone to sleep. So up in the space, I'm looking for the word 10 minutes. There we go. All right. So up in the space and just making ankle circles. A wobbly Wednesday. It's super wobbly for me already. I fell over. And I'm a little too close to the camera there. Opposite direction. This whole ankle circling thing, other ankle, is kind of interesting because it does more than actually just slightly warm up the muscles, oxygenate it. It gets the sensory neurons that are in your muscle, it kind of resets them. So if you have ankle sprain problems and falling, it's a long explanation. It involves the non-Newtonian properties of muscles. Don't want to really talk about that too much. Just kind of take your foot and just kind of turn it over like this so that your toes, the back of your toes are on the mat, and you're just kind of pushing it outward. So we're just giving a little stretch to the back of our foot. Same thing, the other foot. Yeah. Do that. And now let's make little circles with our first ankle in one direction, rolling over on the toes, rolling back the other direction. Same thing, like you're stirring around on the back of your toes onto the bottom of your toes, back of your toes onto the bottom of your toes, back of your toes onto the bottom of your toes, opposite direction, so that you're kind of rolling over. All right. Just do a little hip wiggle from side to side. Skiing, this is early April skiing. The snow is soft. In Whistler, in Canadian mountains, this is pretty nice skiing. All right. Okay, let's just do it. We're going to do a couple of things. We're going to keep our feet. So I've got my towel here so I can kind of see about how big my towel is. Got that in mind. I'm going to put my feet about that size. It's a little narrower than your shoulder width apart. All right. So the first thing I want you to do is just stand there. Just stand in the space. Lift your camera just slightly so that they can see the top of your head. That's not necessary for you. Stand there, and I just want you to bend down and be aware of what's happening with your toes. Go as low as you can into your little squat, and now go a little bit lower and feel your toes may come up. If you can get your hips below your knees, that's your objective. Okay, we're kind of going there. All right, and come back up. Not too hard, not too hard. Lift your toes now. Lift your toes. And we're going to go all the way down again with our toes lifted. Keep your toes off the floor. Okay? Our toes have a really significant component in balance. They're really important. Put your toes back down. We're going to go as low as we can this time with our eyes closed. So just a squat, eyes closed, going down, but our toes are touching the floor. Squatting with our toes touching. Eyes closed. Squatting as low as you can. Coming back up. All right. Be sure to breathe through all of that. Let's try that again. If you were holding your breath in any way, and if you were lifting your chin, be aware if you were lifting your chin as you were going down. Those two things will impact your balance. So keep your spine neutral and long. We're going to go back down. Our toes are touching the floor. Eyes closed. Chin is neutral, as low as we can. Toes touching floor. Back up again. All right? Lifting your toes this time. You're going to lift your toes. Eyes closed. And again, continue to breathe. Your toes are lifted. And you'll notice that a lot of your weight is back in your heels. Yeah, that's kind of the way it goes with our toes lifted, because our toes, again, contribute a significant amount to balance, and so we have to use slightly different mechanisms. Okay, great. Let's grab our towel now. We're going to do what the surfers call hanging 10. Hanging 10 is simply where they go to the front of their surfboard and they hang their toes off, and it's a really significant balance challenge. Okay, so let's get onto our towels with our toes hanging off the end. And we're going to try a couple of things. Okay, so first of all, just with your toes hanging off the end, they can't touch the floor. Just with them kind of, I'll turn sideways so you can see what I'm doing. My toes are hanging off the end of my board. I'm right up there on the front of the wave, about a third of the way down the wave. And I kind of move up to the front of my board. And I'm just going to, with my toes hanging off the board, I'm going to try that same activity that I did in the beginning. Eyes open. You can focus on a spot on the floor and squat way low. We're squatting because there was some gnarlies, and we didn't want to get caught in those. Okay, try that a second time with your eyes open. Squatting, and just feel that front back balance shift, how you have to adjust a little bit because your toes are hanging 10. Nice. Let's do that same activity with our eyes closed. All right, eyes are closed, toes are hanging off, and it's going to feel somewhat different probably with your toes hanging off. Going as low as you can, keeping your spine neutral, and coming back up. Nice. All right, activity number 1. So that's just kind of feeling the shifting weight up and down with our toes hanging off. We're next going to try circumnavigating our towel. So not looking at your feet, looking at a spot in the space. We're going to turn. We're going to, with our toes hanging off, and just kind of keep looking around with your toes hanging off. If it helps you, you can imagine that you're at the top of a very tall building and your toes are hanging off the edge of that building. That might not help you. That might be less helpful. Okay, so you're just kind of your toes, you're navigating around the edge of your building. And you probably started in a familiar direction. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it back and go the opposite direction, your non-familiar direction. So just circumnavigate, looking into the space. With your toes hanging off, hanging 10. And we're using, your brain has to use completely different balancing strategies than when your toes are down, which is super cool. It just does it automatically. There's nothing you need to do. There's nothing you have to, no update you have to do or anything like that. All right. Next challenge. Same activity, eyes closed. You're going to circumnavigate your towel. And then we'll come back to the front. And try to sense when you've come back to the front. See if you can get all the way around and open your eyes when you're facing your own front. Okay, so get your spine neutral. It should be really long. The crown of your head should be tall. And this is really going to help your balance. When you have your eyes closed, imagine that you're focusing on a point in space with your eyes, even though you're actually not. All right, so let's just do this, turning around now. And again, if it helps, imagine that your toes are hanging off the edge of a balcony, like about 17 stories up. That can be really comforting for a lot of people. And you'll notice that there's an element of fear here, or a sense of risk. Okay, and when you get back to what you think is your front, open your eyes and test it out. How'd you do? I didn't do too badly. We're going to go back in the opposite direction. All right, eyes closed again, standing nice and tall, neutral spine, and just kind of moving around. So we're taking very small steps. So the actual risk is really quite low. I mean, you could still fall off your towel. It would be a hard thing to explain to your coworkers. What happened to your ankle? I fell off the towel. So don't fall off your towel. That's all I'm saying. And when you think you're back to your beginning again, open your eyes. Well, I went a little too far. Some people think you can never go too far, but that's not actually true. Okay, last challenge. So the last challenge is actually quite challenging, and it's challenging for two reasons. It's both a balance challenge, but we're going to remove one of our feet in terms of balance. We're going to be hanging 10, and we're going to be doing a squat. Okay, so what I want you to do is you're going to hang 10, or hang 5, I guess, actually. You're hanging 5. Lift the other foot and squat as low as you comfortably can with those toes hanging off the floor. If you can squat all the way down, touch your knee, back up, that's great. If you can't go that far, that's fine too. All right. So do that twice on one side. Squatting helps to focus on non-moving point. Back up. Awesome. Switch feet. You probably started on your dominant leg. Get 5, hang 5 on the other leg. And you're going to do your squat on your other side. And if you can guess where this is going, the very last thing we will do, 2 times, 2 squats, is we're going to do this eyes closed on each leg. All right. So I'm going to just rearrange my towel again because it got a little wonky. It's, just for this very last one, hanging 5. I'm going to stand, nice strong stance. I'm going to have a neutral spine. I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to imagine a spot on the floor, even if I can't see one. I'm going to keep my head fixed towards that spot. I'm just actually looking down on a door behind you guys. And I'm going to imagine that spot. I'm going to kneel down and come back up. I'm going to try and do that twice with my eyes closed, toes hanging off. All right, one leg. Here we go. Let's give this a try. So really a very significant balance challenge. Put your foot down if you're going to fall. I'm going to fall. We're trying to go until our knee touches the ground. Back up again. There's one. I've had to touch 3 times now. Can I do it fewer times on my next round. Okay, I'm calm. I got to calm myself down. So breathing naturally and deeply. And I almost managed it. I almost got up. I got to the top and then I fell over. Okay, switching legs. Typically your non-dominant side, hanging 5. Standing, 1 foot in the air. Okay, imagine that spot, neutral spine. And see if you can go down. If you need to touch on the ground, have to step right down there. Oh, I had to put my hand down. That was a very touchy one. Again, not my dominant leg, so I didn't do as well. And try a second time. And coming back up. That was a very touchy time. All right, take your towel away. Let's put your toes firmly on the ground. You know, the toes aren't just to keep the ends of your feet from fraying, like knots on the end of a rug. They actually, their big function is to provide, they provide leverage in running and walking, and they act as gears for those, and they also provide considerable balance support. So get them on the ground, root them down, really press into them. Just press into your toes. Press into the back corners. Imagine that your heels have corners. Press into the outside corners. Now equalize the pressure across the inside corner, outside corner, and toes. Everything's pressing down. Stand really tall. Tuck your chin just slightly. The back of your head and the crown should feel like they're being drawn upward to the sky. Should be a sense that you're being pulled upward. And just breathe here. Rock from side to side and find your center. Side to side. Rock front and back. And feel your center. Your ears are over your shoulders. Your shoulders are over your hips. Hips over your knees and knees over your ankles. Soften the outside of your body and the inside is strong. Breathe deeply. Centered, balanced. You've challenged yourself this morning. You've moved early. Try to remember to move often. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you back tomorrow for Throwdown Thursday. Take care and have a good day.